Let's give him a big round of applause. Nice. First we had Mario Draghi, and now we have a space frontiersman.
Hello again. Yes, I'm wearing this spacesuit for a reason. Because I'm a CEO of SpaceBIT company. It's the first decentralized company. And decentralized for us means that we have a number of, actually it means two things. First one is that we have a small number of team members who works for us, and then we outsource all other activities for other companies. Well, secondly, it means for us that actually we quite like decentralized technologies and we would like to help them to develop. So most of our project would be based on blockchain or somehow related to those new cryptocurrency developments. Okay, so our goal is to change public perception about space exploration. We want to make space more accessible for small and private companies, as well as to general public. Let's have a look. So why are we building SpaceBIT? So recent innovations in space sector has made a space project feasible and profitable. So in the past, like even I would say a decade ago, our project like ours was not possible because technology was not there. Like in the 60s, everything was so big and so expensive. While modern technology is still quite big, it's quite expensive. However, now with the commodification of electronics, we are able to buy some off-the-shelf electronics and use it for space project. Well, we already took part with the Pocket spacecraft with an interesting project, and we went to Cape Canaveral to see the launch. It was quite fascinating. Unfortunately, not everything worked as planned. But it was not completely our project, and it was not completely our fault as well. So, I mean, space technology, we have to accept the risks, what's happening, and SpaceX is a very reliable company, and we believe that in the future we will be using it for our launches as well. So, we have a number of projects. One of them is we are building the first satellite network for payments. And why is that? Is for two reasons. Reason number one is that we're actually planning to bring Bitcoin and maybe not only Bitcoin, and I will talk about that a bit later, to unbanked populations. So actually, there are certain regions in the world when you don't have internet access, you don't have anything. And there are some technologies at the moment which you can use to fill that gap. However, they're quite expensive. Can you imagine how expensive it is just to build some sort of a station for GSM? It's very, very expensive. But in terms of the small satellites, CubeSats and other technologies, it's quite cheap to build them now and to launch them and to have them in large numbers on orbit. So that's the plan. We are building a network of satellites to provide payments around the world. So what are the goals? So we want to establish a secure, decentralized banking system with a common banking services for current and future cryptocurrency around the world. And we believe that it is important to stay compliant. Yes, so many people ask me, are we building another offshore? Are we? And the answer is no. We are not building another offshore, we are building off-planet banking. So it's not an offshore. So, and still we believe that it's very important to stay fully compliant and while providing a global access for our future users and maybe possibility for some traditional financial services actually catching up with the crypto world and using our infrastructure for their use, why not? So there are many interesting issues that we'll have to solve. So at the moment, we are building a blockchain-based technology which is transparent, secure, and affordable. It's also would be quite cheap, actually, if you calculate per transaction to use those services from our satellite. If you think about it, it might not be that appears that cheap, but actually it is, because just to launch a small satellite, it would just cost a few $100,000 at the moment, which was never possible in the past. yes, also we're developing this device, and hopefully during the next conference I will be able to show it actually working. We are testing it in our labs, and this device can use existing satellite network which are already in place to communicate with satellites and to conduct payments even before we launch our own network of satellites. So we will be releasing it within the next month or two. It can use existing satellite networks. It can be connected to Bitcoin terminals. It can be used with your mobile phones, and you can pay and maybe even have access to internet in very remote regions of the world. And we have a plan to launch our first satellites within the next year. It actually might happen a bit sooner. I don't want to speculate here when it will happen, but there is a chance that it will happen much sooner than 1 year. But we set a timeline for us 1 year to have our satellite in space. And now I would like to ask Adam to present, because we are entering into a very interesting partnership. One is a remittance for a developing world. It's, yeah, Adam, probably you can explain a bit better.
Hello. Thanks a lot, Pavlo. So with Pavlo, we're looking at, I'm from Diacall, we're legal regulatory advisory, but we also have another project called Coinstructors, which is technical development of coins and consultancy and technical level. So one of the projects that we'll be working with SpaceBIT is about bringing remittances to the unbanked. And so we have a proof of concept that we're looking at the moment. It's in sub-Saharan Africa, in a very remote part of the world, where 1,000 people, essentially 150 kilometers to the next village where there is telecoms infrastructure. There is no telecoms infrastructure whatsoever in that particular village. And we'll be working with the government to set up a remittance service in that community, therefore bringing financial services to the most remote parts of the world. This is a proof of concept. So, you know, this is not a service per se that we're doing for commercial reasons. This is doing something innovative, new, in an area where financial services potentially could be needed. And 2.5 billion people in the world don't have access to financial services. Interestingly, I was at a conference on Tuesday speaking to bankers in London and speaking to them about this opportunity within the market, such as HSBC or other big banks wanting to get involved in servicing this market. They can't do it because they have to set up bank branches, and the investment, the capital investment is so intense. However, the telecoms companies are already in this market. So M-Pesa is a shining example of mobile money, bringing financial services in a seamless way to populations where they don't have access to necessarily banking services. We're going to take it one step further, which is banking services where there's no telecoms. So this is, again, a proof of concept. We're looking at the regulatory matters because, you know, sticking a satellite down and is not exactly something you can do, you know, without getting the relevant approvals from the local government. But we'll be working on that proof of concept and working with SpaceBIT on that to see if it'll work. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adam. And also, I would like to introduce another person who would give us a small presentation about a coin. And here I would like to make it a bit of a mystery, and I'll let him tell you what the coin is. And the interesting part for us is not only because it's a first coin from what I believe can deal well with the regulatory issues in different jurisdictions, including the United States, but also because Marcus will be sponsoring SpaceBIT mission very soon. So Aten Coin and Marcus.
Thank you. How you doing, everyone? My name is Marcus Andrade. Here on behalf of NAC Foundation out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And NAC Foundation has created the Atom Coin. It's a virtual currency, just like Bitcoin. Only difference is that, well, I'm not going to say only difference because Bitcoin every day is becoming more and more compliant, which is great. But Atom Coin, we're AML compliant, KYC, U.S. Patriot Act, okay? We know who the sender is, who the receiver is, any transaction in between that's considered suspicious activity, our software will automatically detect it and send it to FinCEN or any government that the transaction either was sent from or received from. Another good thing about our transaction is that, well, our software, okay, is if it's considered suspicious activity, you know, over $10,000, a few payments, you know, that add up to it, and there's about 50 more rules on top of that, well, our system will go ahead and it'll put the transaction on hold for 72 hours, okay, in the event that it's red flagged. And then from there, it'll be released. So that's basically what AtomCoin is. It was designed, it is a virtual currency, but it was designed to be in compliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marcus. So, yeah, we have those two announcements. So, about the project in Africa. There is already a location obtained with 2,000 residents, 130 kilometers from the nearest bank. Closest GSM base station is over 30 kilometers away, so it's quite far. And we will test our ground stations there, see how it works. So testing Bitcoin transactions as well as joining with other very interesting coins. And yeah, we hope to have it running within a few months' time. And if everything goes as planned, within a year time, we will have our own few satellites in orbit that will be able to conduct Bitcoin transactions from space. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, I think, do you have a question? Yeah, actually, someone has a question, so maybe just stay up there a little bit. And his outfit's better than Elvis, right? They have Elvis pictures all over this place. This is better than Elvis.
Thank you very much. My name is Lilia Vershinin. I'm from Kraken. Thank you for an excellent presentation. Of course, I guess I will tell on behalf of many people here, we are very much impressed by the presentation. So my question is, since you're tackling a very complex area, and yes, I guess your project, this is something outstanding from the typical Bitcoin ecosystem, yes, could you tell more about who else is in your team and any advisors that you have? Because obviously there is so much more knowledge needed in order to make it happen.
Of course, yes.
Thanks.
So actually, yeah, maybe it's important to say how we started with this idea. In 2006, I was a student at the London School of Economics in London, and I had a professor whose name is Ian Angel, and I remember sitting in his room in the class, and he was talking about money, about future of money, and then we had this concept of space banking. And well, for other people, it was just a concept. I did really like it somehow. And a few years when I got engaged with the Bitcoin, with cryptocurrencies, I came back to my professor and we started working on this idea. So this idea, we've been working on it for a few years now. And we engaged a number of people who worked for big companies like Airbus Industries. Some of them worked for NASA. And we have a number of advisors. We will be releasing the advisors on our website within a week, so you will be able to see who are those people. And yeah, so this project, thank you very much for question. Yeah, we started this project, we can say, from 2006, yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Thanks also for the presentation. Really ambitious project, really following it.
Thank you.
Just want to know, where are you launching in Africa precisely? We just have some few details.
Well, actually, at the moment, because we are applying, it's a process. It's not a very simple procedure. We have to apply by our government. And
that's the
yes.
why of the question.
So let's keep it secret for 1 week. And when we have everything in place, then we will be able to release the location, because something might happen and we'll have to do it in another one. But it's a Central African location. We have chosen Central African location for the reason because satellite reception is not as good as in Northern Africa, for example. And with our satellites, we'll be targeting mainly equatorial and subequatorial regions as well, because there are not so many telecommunication satellites in those areas.
That was the precise point of my question. Africa has 47 countries today, and I think that is one of the most governed continents.
Yes.
How are you going to be competitive?
Excuse me?
How are you going to be competitive? It's quite covered to the African satellites market. It's really a competitive one.
Well, it's not about competing with everyone. It's about having specific use cases. So as far as I know, not many people are trying to do exactly what we are doing. So there might be a competition. We are ready for that. And it's not so much competition from technology like space technology. At the moment, we know that maybe in 5-10 years' time, we will have competitors, but from existing technologies like GSM and other technologies. Well, that's why we're doing it. We're doing it to prove the case that our technology is cheaper and more accessible to those populations than building, let's say, a new GSM network. That's exactly the case. We want to prove it, and if it works, we will expand.
Oh, we got another question over here.
Josh from Voltoro. Just wondering how the Google balloon project and stuff can fit in with what you guys are doing.
Well, actually, we are doing this as well. So in order to test space equipment, space hardware, you have, the cheapest way to test it is basically by launching high-altitude balloons, weather balloons, as they used to be called. And it's relatively inexpensive way, and you launch them, they go up to the 40 kilometers, and in a condition almost as close to space condition as possible. So it's a very good way to test it, as well as to test and pilot the project. So, Google project was a bit different because they tried actually to maintain a Wi-Fi network or something like that in certain regions using those high-altitude balloons. We use them for different purposes. We use them to test our equipment at high altitudes, because to launch a balloon is much cheaper rather than to have a launch and then to scramble because something is not working. Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, great. Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to end it there. Good luck getting through customs in that outfit, and thank you.
Yeah.
Give him a big round of applause. Good job. Yeah.
Thank you.